Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty big, Elon Musk's plan to, well, basically reinvent email.
Yeah, it's a bold move for sure.
We've got this fascinating article here all about his vision for Xmail, and honestly, I think you're going to find it pretty eye-opening even if you think you know everything about email.
I think a lot of people take email for granted.
Totally. Like, we use it every day, but have you ever stopped to think about how this whole system actually works? Or how much power these email giants have?
It really is kind of wild when you start to dig into it. Right now, the email world is basically controlled by a handful of these massive companies. Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, the names we all know.
Right, right.
And this actually isn't the first time that Elon Musk has decided to sort of go after an industry like this.
No, definitely not.
Think about it. He's taken on cars with Tesla, space travel with SpaceX. He's even shaking up social media now with X, which used to be Twitter.
He loves a challenge, doesn't he? Yeah, he does. So the big question here is, can he actually replicate that success in the email world? It's a tough one.
Okay, so let's back up a little bit before we get into whether or not Xmail stands a chance. I want to start with something that I think might just blow your mind. Are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
Every single day, get this, over 300 billion emails are sent.
Wow.
Billion with a B.
That's a lot of emails.
It's insane. And on average, people are spending over 15 hours a week dealing with their inboxes.
Oh, easy.
So I'm going to guess you're probably part of that statistic too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And here's the thing. I think a lot of us have this idea that we're using these email services for free.
Right.
But that's not actually the case.
Not really, no. There's a whole business model running behind the scenes, and you know what? You're actually part of it.
Wait, what do you mean I'm part of it?
Well, think about it. You get all these amazing email features, right? Tons of storage space, spam filters that actually work, all for free.
Yeah.
So how are these companies actually making money?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, they have to be making money somehow.
Exactly. And the answer is data. They're collecting information about you based on your emails, your contacts, even what you click on in those emails.
So you're saying they're using our information to
Target you with ads. That's how services like Gmail bring in billions of dollars every year. I mean, it's estimated that Gmail alone makes something like $2.48 billion annually just from advertising.
Wow.
Yeah, so the next time you open up your inbox, just remember, you're not just reading messages, you're also a valuable data point for these companies.
That's pretty crazy when you think about it like that. I have to admit, I never really thought about it that way before.
Yeah, it's easy to kind of overlook until you really start to peel back the layers and see what's going on.
Right.
And this all ties into the challenges that Elon Musk is facing with Xmail.
Okay.
To really understand what he's up against, we need to take a quick trip down memory lane and look at the history of email.
Okay, let's rewind.
How did these giants even become so dominant in the first place?
Yeah, so before Gmail came along and took over the world, what was the email landscape like? What were we all using?
Well, you might remember a little something called Hotmail.
Oh, yeah, vaguely.
Yeah, back in the late 90s, they were like the biggest email provider around.
Yeah.
But they had this one major problem: spam.
Spam, the worst.
It was a nightmare. It was just flooding everyone's inboxes, and people were desperate for a better solution.
Yeah.
And that's when Google swooped in with Gmail.
Ta-da!
It was clean, it was easy to use, it had amazing spam filters, plus they offered tons of storage space, which no one else was really doing at the time.
And that's how they basically became the king, right?
Basically, they addressed a major pain point that everyone was experiencing and just offered a way better product. And, well, here we are today. Gmail has over 2.5 billion users worldwide.
That's a third of the planet.
I know. It's mind-blowing. And then you've got Microsoft's Outlook, which is still huge, especially in the corporate world.
Oh, yeah, because it's all tied in with their other software.
Exactly. So they've got a pretty solid user base, too, around 400 million users.
Okay, so basically what you're saying is Elon Musk is trying to break into a market that's already dominated by these, behemoths.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's a pretty daunting task, to say the least.
It is. But here's where things get even more interesting. Before we dive into all the hurdles that Musk is facing with Xmail, let's talk about how he even landed on that name.
Okay.
You might be surprised to learn that it wasn't actually his original idea.
Wait, really? Where did it come from then?
Believe it or not, it came from an ex-user.
Oh, X.
What used to be Twitter. Musk just saw this suggestion, and I guess he just liked it because he basically said, yeah, that's on my to-do list.
Huh. So it seems like he's really taking those user suggestions to heart, which I guess shows that he's at least paying attention to what people are talking about.
Yeah, he is.
But, even if he's got this catchy name, he's still got some major obstacles to overcome, right?
Oh, absolutely. There are a few things that could really make or break Xmail. I mean, for starters, you've got Google's absolutely massive presence in the email world.
Right.
'Cause they've got billions of users, tons of resources, and their systems are just so incredibly sophisticated at this point.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be easy to convince people to switch over from something that, they're already used to. And that works pretty well, honestly, for most people.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I use Gmail, and it's hard to imagine switching at this point.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you've got the whole question of trust. Elon Musk, as we all know, he's a bit of a controversial figure, to say the least.
Right.
His personality and his opinions can definitely rub people the wrong way.
Yeah.
And, that could have a real impact on whether people are willing to trust him with something as...
But, he's also built up a lot of goodwill with companies like Tesla and SpaceX.
Oh, absolutely.
There are a lot of people out there who really admire his vision and, his drive.
True. He definitely has a dedicated following who, they really believe in his ability to kind of disrupt industries.
Yeah.
But email it's a different beast,
In what way?
It's deeply personal. I mean, people share really sensitive information through email.
That's true.
And so they need to feel confident that their privacy is actually being protected, which is why security is another huge factor here.
Yeah, security is a big deal for everyone these days, for sure. What is Musk doing or planning to do to address that with Xmail?
Well, the rumors are that he's looking into using much more advanced encryption for Xmail, like really top-of-the-line stuff.
Okay.
Basically, what encryption does is it makes your emails like super secure digital vaults that only you and, the person you're sending the email to have the key to open.
So even if a hacker managed to, break into the system, they couldn't actually read my emails.
Exactly. That would be a huge selling point for people who are, rightfully concerned about privacy and security these days, especially with all the data breaches and hacks we hear about all the time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I can definitely see the appeal of that. But even if Xmail has strong security and all these, fancy features, isn't the biggest challenge going to be just getting people to change their habits?
You are so right.
I mean, switching email providers can be a real pain, right?
It is.
You have to transfer all your contacts and set up new filters and update your logins on all these different websites. It's just a hassle.
It is a hassle. You hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
User behavior is probably going to be the biggest hurdle Xmail has to overcome.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's objectively a better product. People are creatures of habit.
Totally.
They're used to their Gmail or their Outlook. They know how to use them. They might just not want to deal with the hassle of switching, even if it means better security or, fancier features.
So how could Xmail convince people to actually make that jump? I mean, what would it take to make you switch from your current email provider?
Honestly.
Yeah.
For me, it would have to be a combination of things.
Okay.
First of all, it would have to offer significantly better security and privacy features than what's already out there. It needs a real edge.
Right.
And it would have to be super user-friendly.
Okay.
Like the setup process would have to be totally seamless. The interface would have to be intuitive. And it would need to integrate really well with other services that people are already using on a daily basis.
Right.
If it can't do all that, people are just going to stick with what they know.
So it sounds like Xmail really has a lot to prove.
It does.
But if Musk can actually pull this off, it could totally shake things up in the email world. I'm really curious to see what features he comes up with and how he actually tries to win people over.
Well, me too. It's definitely going to be an interesting journey to watch. But in the meantime, there are some things that our listeners can do right now to protect their privacy and just be more informed email users in general.
Oh, okay. Like what? I'm all ears.
Well, now that we all know how these free email services actually work, how they're making money off of our data, we can only be a bit more mindful about the information that we're sharing.
Right.
You can start by, actually reading their privacy policies.
Ugh.
I know it's not exactly the most exciting read, but it can be really eye-opening.
Okay.
And you can also go into your privacy settings and limit what information you're actually comfortable sharing.
So basically be more aware of the trade-off, right? We're getting these convenient free services, but in return, They're collecting data about us.
Exactly. It's all about being an informed consumer and, making choices that align with your values.
That's a great point. And it really makes this whole discussion about Xmail even more interesting.
Yeah.
If Musk can actually offer a more secure and private email experience, it could be a real game changer.
It could be. It could be. But we have to remember that, this is all just speculation at this point.
Right.
We really need to wait and see what he actually delivers,
Yeah.
Before we get too excited.
That's true. And speaking of things to watch out for, there's something important that we need to warn everyone about right now.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, with all this hype around Xmail, scammers are unfortunately already trying to take advantage.
Oh, no, really?
Yeah, so you might start seeing, like, phishing emails popping up, claiming to be from Xmail, offering early access, exclusive invites, that sort of thing.
It's so frustrating that people try to exploit something like this. What should they be on the lookout for? How do they avoid falling for these scams?
Well, first and foremost, remember that Xmail doesn't even actually exist yet.
Right.
So any email that you get that's claiming to offer you access right now, it's definitely a scam. It has to be.
Okay, that makes sense.
Well,
What else?
always be wary of any emails asking for personal information.
Yeah.
Things like your current email password or, credit card details. Legitimate companies will never ask for that kind of information through email.
That's a really good point. It's always better to be safe than sorry when it comes to your personal information online.
Exactly.
Okay, so I think we've covered a lot of ground here today. What do you think is the most important thing for our listener to take away from this whole deep dive into the world of email and this potential future with Xmail?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
I think, the main takeaway here is that the way that we communicate online is constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Email might seem like, this old and established technology, but there's still room for innovation and disruption.
Always. Right.
And with someone like Elon Musk stepping into the arena, well, who knows what the future holds. It's definitely going to be interesting to see how this all plays out.
Yeah, that's what makes this so exciting. We've seen what he's done with other industries. So it's going to be fascinating to watch and see if he can actually pull this off with email. And for you, our listener, I hope this deep dive has kind of given you a new perspective on something that you probably use every single day. You're not just sending and receiving messages. You're part of this complex system. It has its own history, its own economics, even, a little bit of drama.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And maybe this has even sparked some new questions for you.
Yeah.
Things like, if Xmail does become a reality, how could it impact your own habits online? Would you be willing to switch from your current provider if it offered, the right features, the right level of security? It's definitely something to think about.
Those are some really great questions to ponder. We don't have all the answers yet,
Nope.
but I think that's kind of what makes this whole thing so fascinating. We're all kind of on this journey together, figuring out how to navigate this ever-evolving digital world.
Couldn't have said it better myself. And the more informed we are, the better choices we can make.
Exactly. So keep exploring, keep questioning,
Yeah.
and as always, thanks for joining us on The Deep.